basically, do you support how the border was under Biden? That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Okay. So what? So you said open border policy. There was no open border policy. That's just a made up lie.
No, that, of the policy of the administration, basically.
The policy better than Trump's.
Okay. Yeah, let's say 9/11 was happened yesterday. Do you think any Americans would have want open borders and illegal aliens coming in like
I never
nothing?
advocated for open borders, and then I don't think that changes anything. Just because population supports a certain thing, it's gonna be based on like what my policy is, like what I support.
Okay.
Also, I'm sorry. Like, can we just address the elephant in the room? Can Parker, is it can I address it,
Go ahead.
please? Justin, where are you from?
Arizona?
Cool. Uh, were you born and raised in Arizona?
No, I was
Where are
I
you
was
born and raised?
born in California.
Okay. What about your parents? Where are they from?
My parents are from Mexico.
Mm. Okay. So,
Well, actually, my mom
Justin,
was born here. I don't know exactly what state, but my mom was from. She's from Mexico. Well, she was born here, but she's lived basically all her life in Mexico. Yeah.
cool, cool. So, Justin, you don't see a problem with this administration specifically targeting people that look like you and your parents, people that come from the same place that your parents come from. They are illegally targeting those people, and for some reason, you're just okay with them doing that. You don't see a problem with it?
It's because I don't see it like that. I don't think they're specifically racial profiling Mexicans or Latinos. It's
You
anybody
think
who's
there's no
qualified.
racial profiling?
No, whoever's not
What?
qualified to be here shouldn't be here, and that's it. Whether you're African, Indian, Asian, Iranian,
Sure.
no,
Where are they actually implementing these ICE raids?
California,
Well, yeah,
all over
California,
the
but
country.
yeah, literally all over the country, but they're specifically targeting brown people. Specifically targeting brown people. They're literally the reason why there's been multiple people whose rights continue to get violated is because they're racially profiling them. And you have situations where you have like US Marshals who get caught up in ICE raids because they have brown skin, or you have people who are like actual US citizens in Florida who have birth certificates and they still get caught up in held by ICE because they have brown skin. Literally, Justin, they're targeting people that look like you and your family, and you're just like, oh, I'm good with it.
But it doesn't have to do with the race. It's just what it is. It's their status that they don't have legal papers. That's what it is. It's nothing more than that.
Do you think every undocumented immigrant in the country should be deported?
Uh, I would say no,
No. Okay,
no,
so then why should anyone in the country who has not committed a violent crime or a bad crime who's undocumented be deported?
because we just can't take in everybody. Basically,
Wait, okay, so
I
then I
feel
have a
like
question. Are you okay with 1 to 3% population growth per year?
yeah, if the undocumented immigrants have their allegiance to this country
Okay, so to
and they
clarify,
really support
you're
yeah,
okay with 3 to 10 million people coming to the country every year, and you had an issue with the level of immigration that happened under the Biden-Harris administration, which was
if
significantly
they're
less
coming
than
in the
three to
right
ten
way,
million per year.
yeah, it's more of morals. It's not about the type of people. The well, yeah, it is
It's
the type
more
of people.
morals. If you cared about morals, you wouldn't have voted for a guy held civilly liable a woman that bragged about walking into the changing rooms of girls in Miss USA because he quote unquote owns the place to inspect them without their consent, who said he would date a 10-year-old girl in 10 years, who said he had sex in common with his daughter, who said he had Howard Stern calling his daughter a piece of ass. You talk about morals, but you don't apply them at all to someone like Donald J. Trump.
Also, you know what's like ridiculous about your argument, Justin? You know who doesn't even agree with this argument?
Who?
Donald Trump. literally, Donald Trump has now gone on record talking about how specifically the undocumented immigrants that work on different farms, how they've worked there for like 20 some odd years, and they have to actually look at certain situations and see what they can do so they're not actually deporting those undocumented immigrants that work on farms. So now even Donald Trump doesn't agree with himself on mass deportation anymore. But you, for some reason, are still agreeing with the old Donald Trump when the new Donald Trump doesn't even agree with you. So what are we talking
But
about?
when it came to farmers and hotel people that work at hotels, but basically it's about morals. If you come into this country illegally, you should be deported, and that's it. It's not a racial thing. It's not, it's just what it is. It's like basically me applying for a job. If I'm not qualified for that job, why should I be able to get it?
Okay,
Hey,
so,
Justin, I got
so you say if you can't qualify for the job, you shouldn't be let to be there to be able to get it. I have a question. If someone is trying to immigrate to the country and they were held civilly liable for, if you had the ability to either legally allow them in the country or not legally allow them in the country, would you let them legally into the country?
They should have been not in the country from the beginning.
Wait, hold up. Let me ask you the question. Would you allow them to legally come to the country?
No.
So so do you put harsher qualifications on becoming a U.S. citizen through the context of immigration or becoming president of the United States?
Could you repeat that?
Do you put harsher qualifications on becoming a citizen of the United States through immigration or becoming president of the United States?
I mean, these people didn't even abide with the current immigration laws.
Before you talk about something else, I want you to address
Oh,
specifically this question.
that's answering your questions. If these people didn't even go through the legal process now, what makes you think if you
I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm saying, do you put harsher qualifications on becoming a citizen through immigration or being president of the United States?
both? I would say both.
You put the same level of qualifications on becoming a U.S. citizen comparative to becoming president of the United States? Okay. Well, then I have a question. Do you think infants should be allowed to legally immigrate into the country? Do you think children should be allowed to legally immigrate to the country? Yes. Do you think they should be allowed to be president? No. So can you please tell me,
Okay.
do you think there should
No,
be
I answered that
harsher
one.
qualifications for
Yeah.
becoming a U.S. citizen or for becoming president?
Neither. I think everything is good right now. People just need to abide by the current immigration laws. I would
Wow,
keep
dude,
it the same.
I really appreciate that answer to the
Yeah.
question. Thank you so
This is
much.
honestly. I'm being honest.
Thank you
I would
for
keep it-
honestly answering my question, which you didn't. Do you wanna like engage with what I said?
You're gonna ask something else.
What was I saying? You want so do you think there should be harsher qualifications on who's allowed to become president of the United States or just who's allowed to become a citizen?
Who's allowed to become a citizen?
Become a citizen?
Yeah,
Really?
because a lot of these people.
Okay. I have a question. Do you think children should be allowed to legally immigrate to the country?
It depends. Obviously, yeah. There's
Yeah,
a kid on.
so the answer is yes. The answer is yes. You do think children
Yeah.
should be allowed to legally immigrate to the country. Do you think children should be allowed to be president?
No.
Okay, obviously you don't want Boss Baby as president of the United States. So clearly, just because someone's qualified to become a citizen doesn't mean they're qualified to become president. So you have harsher qualifications for presidency compared to just becoming a citizen. So if that's true, and you wouldn't let someone legally immigrate to the country if they were held civilly liable of, well, then clearly, right, you shouldn't let someone who's held civilly liable for become president of the United States. That would be clearly absurd because clearly there should be more, right, qualifications for becoming president of the United States comparative to becoming, right, a citizen. Right? There are plenty of people who have immigrated to the country who we don't think should be president of the United States. Children, for example.
Okay, but like I said, I don't believe Trump is a. I've heard
Okay,
the things.
well then let's address this. He said he would date a 10-year-old girl in 10 years. Do you consider that?
I mean that is weird, but legally no, because if they're over the age limit, then
Okay, well then I'll ask you this
there's
question: If you
couples
went
like
to a
that that are
kindergarten
like,
class, and you went up to a 5-year-old and said you're going to be dating them in
but that
15
didn't
years.
happen though. That's the
Wait.
thing.
If Donald Trump went up to a 5-year-old and said he'd be dating them in 15 years, would you still say the same thing, or would you say that he's
Actually went to a school and he did that, I would be that's wrong. Yeah.
okay? So then why don't you say the same thing when it was a 10-year-old? That's a 5th grader, bro. He went up to a 5th grader and he said he's going to be dating her in 10 years, and you still don't think that's
No.
What do you think going? Do you think going up? Do you think Donald Trump, if he went up to a 5-year-old and said he's going to be dating them in 15 years, that would be
No.
really
I think
going
that's
up to a
weird,
kid, going to a kindergarten class as a 50-year-old man and saying that you're going to be dating them in 15 years isn't
legally, no, because they're gonna be
no?
over
I'm
the
asking you. I'm asking you. Do you think it is?
I wouldn't do that. No.
No. Do you think it's
No.
no? Okay, so if they went up to your 5-year-old kid, a 50-year-old man, and he said he's going to be dating them in 15 years, what would you do?
I would take that as a compliment.
Bro,
Disgusting piece of. What do you
no
mean you take
fucking
that as a
way.
compliment? What
Well,
are you
that's-
talking about? It's your 5-year-old. A compliment? A 50-year-old man goes up to your 5-year-old and says he's going to be dating them in 15 years, and you take that as a compliment rather than a comment? Do you support Trump?
Yeah, I do.
Why'd you vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I just want to say that last guy, man. I can't believe he made that comment. That was wild. I'm about to be a dad here. In a few
Wait, so
months,
then why do you
it's-
support him?
Why do I support him?
Thank you for
I think
that.
I think it was a disgusting comment that he made in the past.
And-
I don't agree with it.
So if he went up to a 5-year-old and said he'd be dating them in 15 years, would you still support him?
Make it really tough, but I mean, outside of all the other policy, I don't think the one comment that he made dictates me not supporting him.
Okay, so you were like, oh, what the last guest just said was crazy, and then you just said the same
Well,
thing.
the fact that he said he would take it as a compliment as well.
Tyler's like, it's not a deal breaker. Just don't say it out loud.
So, okay, so again, if he went up to a 5-year-old and said he'd be dating them in 15 years, you'd still vote for him.
I mean, considering all the outsides, I mean, you don't just take that one thing and then base that voting off
Thank
that
you for the
one
hard
issue,
hands.
right? So,
Really? If he were held civilly liable of a child, would you still support him?
no.
Okay, so what is the relevant difference between the victim being a child and the victim being an adult? That means that you'd support him in one scenario but not the other, because he was held civilly liable.
I would say
of-
I wouldn't say it's okay in any situation, but we're not just in this one bubble where you make decisions off one comment.
Okay,
Right?
no, we're
So,
not
like,
talking about a
it's
comment.
not
We're talking
okay,
about wait.
but-
We're talking about how he was held civilly liable for. In the scenario I just brought up to you, where you said you wouldn't support him, the only difference between that and reality is the age of the victim. That's it. And I don't
Right,
think that's a
that's not
sufficient
okay.
reason to say that you would
I'm
support him
not-
in one scenario but not the other.
Right. So if that's the case, why is it just civil? Why is he not in prison for it?
Because it is past the statute of limitations, specifically in New York, for which is ridiculous because plenty of victims take decades to come out or don't come out at all. So the idea that there's even a statute of limitations in the very first place is a disgusting thing.
Okay, then why wouldn't we handle that issue first?
Again, we should, and
Try to
we
reform-
and,
yeah,
and again, we
exactly.
did in we did in certain ways through the Child Survivors Act and the Adult Survivors Act that specifically allowed for the statute of limitations to be extended in New York for civil courts, and that's what the specific thing that allowed for Donald Trump to be tried in a civil court, and thousands of other people, right, tried their abusers in a civil court as well in the context of New York because of the Child Survivors Act and the Adult Survivors Act.
That's great. Then we should reform that. I would support that.
Okay, we can continue to say that, but then also, given that this is true, you wouldn't support him, correct?
Yeah, I mean, in a bubble world, again, off that one
What do
issue.
you mean in a bubble
Not-
world? What?
We're not making political. I'm not basing my choices off of one comment, off of one specific scenario.
Okay,
There's
well,
a ton
well,
of-
But
wait.
and,
But
and
you
again,
just,
and again,
hold
and
on. You
again,
just
okay.
said that you wouldn't have supported him if you were held civilly liable of a child. That's one scenario, right?
Yeah, hypothetical.
Okay, but in that scenario, you still wouldn't support him. So why is it just being one
Right.
scenario, right? A reason to demean it and say that it's not good enough reason to not vote for him.
Well, first of all, never again, not put in prison. That's a different story. How that that law is not formed. That definitely should be. But again, all of Kamala's policy, or Kamala, however you say your name, I think it's Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala. I don't agree with a lot of her policies were, and I'm not saying that I love Donald Trump or I'm a Trumper or whatever these whether these people say that he is or always MAGA supporters. I'm not that. I just thought he was a better option politically.
Okay, but you're not addressing my point there. Nothing about the situation is different but the age. And in one scenario, you said you
Right,
wouldn't
it's
support him. In
wrong.
the other scenario, you said you would support him.
It's-
You bringing up
it's wrong.
policies is irrelevant because the policies are the same in both scenarios.
Yeah, but Parker, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying
I am.
I don't make my decision off of that one
But
incident.
yes, and I just critiqued that, and I
right?
showed you if that were the case, then you wouldn't have said that you wouldn't support him if you were held civilly liable for a child. You'd still say you'd support him,
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't support him, but if I had another. person
Oh,
on
okay,
the
but that's
opposite
one.
side, I
But,
wouldn't-
but listen, that's one scenario.
Yeah, it is. But still,
Okay. So okay. Then the point is, just it being one scenario is not good reason to demean it insofar as that you would say that it's not good enough reason to then not vote for him. Does that
I
make
like
sense?
his policies. Yeah, and I like his policies more than the opponent, so that's why I voted for him.
Okay, but in both scenarios, the policies are the same. That's not a relevant difference between one and the other. The only difference between these two scenarios is the age of the victim. That's it.
I understand that.
So why are you
keep saying
bringing
the same thing.
why are you bringing up policies as a reason to say that like you support him in one scenario but not the other when the only
in real-
difference between the two scenarios is the age of the victim?
Because in real life, that's why I voted for him.
Okay,
Policies.
I
didn't
understand.
vote for him.
Then you would have voted for him if you were held civilly liable of child because his policies are the same.
No, again, hypothetical.
Do you see this guy how he can't use his brain cells to function properly?
That's not real life. I understand what you're trying to do, Parker.
Yes,
but that's not real life.
hypotheticals are very relevant towards demonstrating what you
Yeah,
should
but
value in the real life.
Did he rape a 5-year-old? And did he say,
Well,
I want
but
to
so
sleep
wait,
with a 5-year-old?
you know,
A woman.
He did, and it's wrong.
exactly. And so, wait, Tyler, that's the problem, though. Like, Parker hypotheticals are closely related to reality. Like, they're not
100%.
that big of a stretch. And you keep saying like you wouldn't vote for him off of this one thing or this one thing or this one thing, but it's all the collective things that Donald Trump actually did, and you still support him with all of these bad things.
Let me ask
So
you a
you
question.
can't just talk about the one individual thing. It's all bad, and you still voted for him.
Yeah, but is one person perfect? I want to ask you both. Is one
No,
person
but
perfect?
there's way
Exactly.
better people than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a fascist. He's a
I-
racist. He's a sexist. He's a classist. He has open cases across the board. Before Donald Trump even ran for office, he had been sued 4,000 times. 4,000.
By
I
the
don't
way,
agree. I don't see how.
you don't have to be perfect to not someone. You don't have to be perfect to not undermine the democracy. You don't have to be perfect to not want to be dictator. You don't have to be perfect to not say that you would date a 10-year-old girl in 10 years. You don't have to be perfect, right, for any of those things. And yet you're going to sit there and you're going to say, right, because we're critiquing Donald Trump, that we're asking for perfection here. Hell no. Are you perfect? No. Have you raped a woman? No. Would you support Donald Trump if he's raped a woman?
If it was just that one scenario that we're basing our info off, is that what we're asking?
Yes.
Then no, I wouldn't. If we're just basing our one decision off of that alone issue, then no. It's wrong.
Oh,
It's
wait. No,
disgusting.
no. Same policies that he has right now, but you know for certain he raped a woman. Would you still
No,
support
I
him?
wouldn't vote for him.
Okay. So
I'd probably just say.
So what you're
independent because
disputing
I-
is based upon the standard of evidence. And the reason why that's not a good reason to dispute what I just said is because in the two scenarios I provided has the same standard of evidence. So again, the only distinction that you could have provided in the example that I specifically gave you to demonstrate why you would have supported him in one scenario but not the other is age. And age is not a relevant factor in making a delineation between the two insofar as that you'd say you'd support him in one scenario but not the other. And that's explicitly why I give the example. This is not far from reality because the only distinction is age. And it demonstrates this very clearly because you have a clear intuition against supporting him if you were held civilly liable for a child. But for some reason, you don't have that clear intuition when it's a woman.